What's up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take MLB DFS podcast. I'm your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I am joined once again by the true OG of the Wise Take Nation, Mr. Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 D's. Paulie, what's happening?
What's happening, baby? After yesterday, just a demoralizing, bad, rally streak killer.
Yeah.
It was nice to get on the right side of things in the early slate. And, the late slate, we'll see. I mean, I played real small because it was such a, 4-game slate with Coors. And, we really spent a lot of time on that early one. But it was good to be on the right side of stuff again. I think the streak is not dead, and the big slates have been really good to us. I'm actually looking forward. Tomorrow's slate is just awesome. There's options galore. It's one where you're probably going to want a couple extra teams. It's going to be hard to narrow it down because there's a lot of really interesting upside spots, but it's going to be fun breaking it down and, making those decisions tomorrow.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think that the larger slates are something we used to kind of dread. We would complain when it was they're too big, but it's worked out. It's been kind of like giving us options, being able to just not worry about ownership so much and just play what our research leads us to and just trust it and go and let the other people around you make the mistakes. And that's been the formula, the recipe to success.
This morning, playing Pittsburgh on a 6-game slate? 6? They weren't a high projected team. They were the lowest one on the slate.
The lowest projected on the slate.
And that's never a team you're really excited about playing, but that's what the research pointed to. We stuck to it, and it paid off, and that was that's how it's supposed to work, So that point was certainly proven today.
Yeah, man. It's pretty cool to see when you have smaller slates, it's nice to be able to just know where the chalk is, and I think that's where leveraging comes into play. I think these last couple smaller, this night slate for instance, projecting the actual chalk was a little more difficult than it was going to the Dodgers, but it was the way you thought people were going to take to get there wasn't as popular as you would think.
Yeah. I mean, there's a trend in the industry that people are definitely paying down a pitcher. Strasburg on a 4-game slate 30%. Where he was the lowest of the 4 higher. That's significant. You know what I mean? That's the Tuesday's large slate, or maybe it was Monday's, the Max Scherzer slate. Max was 30%, and he's probably him and maybe Sale or uber elite. You can, you'll pay up for them regardless of price in a good matchup. But the Nestor Cortez being 50% owned on a 15-game slate, really showed that again. And, we're seeing it every day. There's a guy that's cheap that is a guy people used to consider stacking against, and now all of a sudden everyone's accepting maybe I should think about using him, and that's definitely a trend. People are paying down for pitchers. Gerardo was very popular. That was a guy that we got 5% 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Paulie, we do have a monster-sized slate. Like you said, it's pretty juicy. There's a little bit of everything, a little bit of pitching, a little bit of awesome offense. We have Coors on this slate. We have a really good pitcher in Coors. So we have a lot to discuss. Let's start off with cash games as we always do. SP1. This one, I think we might see a few different answers. Normally there's one obvious. I feel we might see a couple different answers for this one. As far as the field goes. But I want to hear your thoughts. Who do you think stands out to you the most?
What did you say? Cash game pitcher?
Yeah, cash game SP1. Yeah.
You know what else? It's actually a 14-game slate, though, right?
Yeah, 14 games.
Yeah, it's not on the slate, right?
What?
The Yankees and the Red Sox, because they're in London.
Oh, that's right. What a bummer.
Yeah. I was like, wait, we haven't. Who are the Yankees playing? And I was like,
that's right.
They've been doing that dirty lately.
They have. Yes, they have.
But so I think the trend is going to actually start to spill over into cash games with paying down, and like I think you'll see some like more old school players or guys that are like not like a little more stubborn, still doing like the DeGrom. Maybe though, like that's a tough opponent. But if not DeGrom, then Berrios, the next highest pitcher against the White Sox, right? I think Berrios is actually like the optimal kind of right thing. I don't think DeGrom against the Braves is a cash game thing right now, especially because the Dodgers are going to be like very popular in cash and they're crazy expensive. But I actually tend initially I thought like spend up and then like grab Anibal Sanchez as an SP2, but I'm actually starting to think that Anibal Sanchez is going to be the SP1, and then somebody cheaper than him will be the SP2.
That's interesting. I would imagine that like like the veteran players in cash games are still paying up.
Yeah, like they're gonna stick to what's the most reliable.
Right. I mean? So I do think that like if you want to call them the sharper players, are gonna find a way to make it work, and like they're gonna do a stars and scrubs thing like they always do, and like they'll punt. They don't give a damn. They'll punt. Second base, shortstop, whatever they gotta do to make sure they get in at least one or two cores bats or whatever it is they think they need. And so, but I'm with you though. I think like the second wave of like the recreational players who have been playing for a while now and are starting to pick up on things, I think they're gonna try, and like that in a sense that could, if it's not the right move in cash, that could like add value to a slate like this for cash games, because like if
it creates an edge,
right, unless that works and then it backfires and but then
there's still an edge because it's not going to be like this 60% max shirt, like you know what I mean, like
basically that you have to figure out like a puzzle, like it's going to be a lot more raw, a lot more like a real head-to-head should be like just what do you think, what do I think, let's see who's right. That's like I agree with that.
But do you think that pay up guy is Berrios though against the White Sox?
It's hard. Like
on the road,
that's the thing. Like my own personal whether I'm playing cash or not, I have certain rules that I follow no matter what. And one of them for me is Berrios on the road. I will not do it. And the especially because the White Sox happen to be playing well right now. I mean, they just beat up Chris Sale. Like what I mean? Like so like I think is that the right answer? Probably. Because the White Sox on paper are a much better opponent than the Braves. The number one team in ISO over the last month to lefties and to righties, the Braves. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm with you. But if I were playing cash, I would have more trust in DeGrom at home than I would have in Berrios on the road. So like that's how I would do it. But I do think that I expect the field to either go to Berrios or maybe even Lance Lynn. Depending on the Vegas line's not out yet. If the Rangers happen to be favored, though, I could see.
Even Clevenger, if he wasn't like dealing with an injury, like against Baltimore, I wouldn't be shocked. But I don't think that. Soroka against the Mets in that park, that feels very cash game. Honestly, like
feels safe, right?
This is like the hardest slate that I've had, like where I'm just like I don't think cash is going to be a thing tomorrow. I think even cash game tournaments are going to be GPPs because the ownership's just going to be spread out like crazy.
No, I completely agree.
I think the Dodgers are going to be the cash game guy, and I think Anibal. I think those two will be highly owned, but some guys may pair Anibal up, some guys may pair Anibal down and load up on the Dodgers.
I could definitely see that being the case. And again, it's going to come down to preference. I agree with you that Anibal seems to kind of, whether he's an SP1 or SP2, he seems to kind of fit nicely against the Tigers, who've been the nut worst. Like, let's talk about this for a second. The Tigers have been just got Paulie. You had pointed out how bad things were getting with the Tigers. Did you remember any of the numbers?
I don't, but it was like they were on a historically high pace for striking out on balls outside the zone, like swing rate, right? And that's like when you just like decipher what that means they're swinging at terrible pitches, and more than anyone like ever,
absurd,
right? So,
at a ridiculous rate,
right? And they're very right-handed and they're mostly right-handed pitchers. Like, so they're always at this like platoon disadvantage. And even guys that don't have good strikeout stuff are just going deep, right? They're accumulating innings, which always increases their strikeout totals. And Detroit, doesn't matter if the pitcher's like a 16% K rate guy, like Detroit is just getting you there anyway, getting into 5 or 7. And, the cheap pitchers are working out. The studs are just like, have massive ceilings against them. They're striking out at a prolific pace, and they're last in the league in ISO and WRC plus against right-handed. Like, and if not first, second, or third in Ks. I don't know if San Diego passed them, but they're just terrible all around.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible. Lefties, righties, they're like in the top 3 in strikeouts to both, and like you said, the key factor there is understanding like why they're striking out so much right now, and it's like you said, they're being very aggressive, nonsensically, and if you look, it's been like right there. I mean, I think Gerardo has like a 6% swinging strike rate or something like that.
Yeah,
and
he's not a K guy.
He's not, but like you said, because he was able to go the distance, he ended up getting there and getting strikeouts. So you swing at bad pitches, you're either going to strike out or you're going to hit ball, make contact outside the zone, which is probably setting you up for a bad hit anyway. So, I think that he's somebody that in tournaments, cash games, like he should be extremely popular. The only thing that's like interesting is the Tigers are projected for 4.7 runs, which is a lot for them. So this has like the odds of a Coors game, right?
Mm-hmm.
That whole game, it's kind of weird. But yeah, I think for me personally, I would probably try DeGrom. That's just what I'm like. When you and I were coming up, we're trained to do that. Yep. You and I are trained to do that. Yep. That's what it was. And I think that
what's Atlanta implied for? Do you have that?
3.5. So like that's another checkbox. It's just boom.
3.5. Yeah. Okay. Is DeGrom a favorite?
Yes.
Mets are a favorite? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So he checks all the boxes. So I think that's what I would do despite the opponent. And like you said, Anibal. But I do agree. I think the newer generation of people are going to try to go Anibal SP1 and try to stack the shit out of the Dodgers and do what they got to do at SP2.
Like the Wrigley Field game with the Braves like 2 or 3 days ago, like a 4-3-1 or something stacked, but it was notable that there was like 4 Cubs and 3 Braves in cash game lineups, right? Like they stacked
the wind,
all those super expensive bats because the wind was blowing out, so like if, guys are going to do the same thing with the Dodgers and Coors against a bad pitcher after what they did today, you're just not going to be able to fit DeGrom with that. You couldn't fit, what's his name, Strasburg today with those guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's look at it from a tournament perspective, Paulie. Do any of these guys stand out? I mean, Anibal to me just still seems like an awesome play regardless, and like the revenge and like you said, the outside the zone. But what else?
There's a lot. I'll mention that I think if they are going to do the double pay down in cash, I think Michael Wacha will be that guy. And he's also a tournament option. I don't pitch Wacha ever, but, he's actually posted some decent games, and the Padres do strike out, and he's 5'9". That's the most important thing. Like, it seems like the field is like, who's the cheapest pitcher I can live with? And I think they'll end up there. But there's some, like, incredible GPP spots. Ryu is 8-9, right? We've been paying like 11-5 and stuff like that for him against the Rockies, who are on a prolific strikeout pace, especially against lefties. Pomeranz struck out, 11 or so. Baumgartner went double digits. They faced these Dodgers prior to that. Like, strikeouts are through the roof. You're getting a super discount on him. It's in Coors, so it's going to be low owned. That's interesting. I mean, he's not walking anybody. He's posted multiple games in the 30s. He should be in line for the win. He's hasn't gone very deep lately, but I think he's a guy that they will let go deep. That definitely is one of the very interesting GPP options. We talked about Lance Lynn a bit against the Rays. The Rays are kind of cold. They just played a 17-inning game in Minnesota, traveling back home. Lance Lynn's been very good and very good to righties. Right now, there's only 3 lefties in their projected lineup. We'll see. Kiermaier got hurt today, so he's a lefty bat that they're going to lose. Yanni Chirinos against the Rangers, who have been striking out at a massive pace. Even, today, like Gallo hit 2 home runs. I think they might have got 1 other home run, but they only put up 4 total runs against Spencer Turnbull. Like Yanni Chirinos in this park, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think of the like spend ups, like so DeGrom's on the table, we know because he's just good.
Yeah.
But after that, like the most interesting spend up to me is Ryu, and it's funny because we talked about how much we like Anibal, and the Tigers are projected for 4.7 runs, and what do you know? It's Coors, and we're interested in Ryu, and so are the Rockies. So it might be weird to take 2 pitchers that like the opposing team is closer to 5 than 4. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think like 4.5 is gonna be like the new 3.5 in this juice ball era. Like, like it used to be like, they're implied for 5.2. Like that might be like the 10th highest on the slate going forward.
Right.
Where we have all these teams over 6 now, and like, we have a team projected for 7 every day lately. But yeah, I kind of, he's definitely interesting because he's that cheap with, the upside of an 11K guy.
Right.
But
yeah,
you can make a case for a bunch of those guys.
Oh yeah.
One guy I'll talk about, like literally, I'm not gonna talk about all of them, but there's 2 cheap guys that I think you like one of, and I like both these guys, and that's Chris Archer against Milwaukee. This is like a major GPP spot, right? Like he's faced them 3 times in the last year and a half since he went to Pittsburgh. He's pretty much like on schedule, struck out 7, given up 2 home runs and allowed 4 runs. One of the games he allowed 6, but pretty just like automatic. But the Brewers are kind of in a little bit of a funk. They have been striking out a lot lately. And Archer, like he was dealing with injuries, finally starting to look good. He's gone 6 innings in a couple starts now. Like if he's on, he could post like a double-digit strikeout game against this team, and at 7-1 put like a 30 up and be like a 4 or 5x type player, which can help win you a slate. So he's definitely interesting. But on the flip side, like he could also give up 4 home runs and get trashed, and then they bring in the pen. The Brewers just keep going. So I could just fight both sides, but I just have like a feeling that Chris Archer shows up at like 2% ownership tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's high upside both ways.
Yeah, and then Eliezer Hernandez against Philly, who Wheeler just dominated today. He looked great, and Eliezer has been really good. Philly's really just like they have like upside. They're like an offense that can erupt, and they're super talented, but they're just very cold right now. And like we've caught 1 or 2 of their good games, but we've also like played their bats and like got zeros, and we're like depressed that we even played like and Eliezer's like been striking guys out, and he's 6'5", like, well, what's Philly even implied for? Like 4.4 or something like that.
Philly is 4.4.
4.4. Yeah. Like it's in Marlins Park. That's one of the lower run totals on the slate at this point.
Yeah, and
I've been impressed with him and like all the Marlins young pitchers.
And like when you look at Philly, like they're pretty right-handed. Like their everyday lineup, they have Bruce, Harper, and Cesar Hernandez. But other than that, their everyday guys are all righties. And, it's a massive park. Philly's hitting a lot of fly balls, which is great if you're in a small park. But if you're in a big park like this, it's probably just going to get caught, And so I'm with you. I think that makes a lot of sense. And the tournament approach, like whether you want to play Coors or not, I was saying like Anibal Sanchez, Eliezer, that type of combo, like 2 cheap guys, is what's the only way you're playing Coors, first of all. And even if you're not playing Coors, it's gonna be a way to give you like massive upside with your bat. So I'm with you. That seems to be like the trend. For sure.
Yep. Or if you want to get a stud with a good stack, you're going to need, probably even cheaper than him, but you may be able to make it work.
Archer is very, very interesting, and we'll use this to transition into the bats. But like Archer is very much like one way or the other. Either he's crushing it, that 7K price tag, or he's getting you negative points because the Brewers are kicking his teeth in. Talk to me about is Archer, like, before we get into the stacks, like is that a situation you would hedge, and if so, how many Archer teams did you have to have before you thought it was necessary to hedge?
I almost think it's a 1-for-1 hedge situation.
So if you do one Archer, I mean, one Brewer stacks,
two teams, you have an Archer and
fair enough.
I mean, how bad Pittsburgh bullpen been, right? Like, so if they knock Archer out, like, you look at his game logs, like his blow-up games are blow-up games. He gives up power. This is a stadium that's conducive to power. This is one of the most powerful teams, and then their bullpen is just a nightmare. So, like, if he fails, the Brewers could be the highest scoring, and power scoring. Like, a team can score 11 runs, but without the home runs, it doesn't matter. Like the Yankees with 4 home runs, if you had those right guys, like, you can win tournaments with that. Like the Brewers, they could hit, like the Dodgers hit, 7-8 home runs tonight if things go well. So I almost feel like it's a 1-for-1 kind of thing. Like for every one Archer team, you could have 10 teams, Archer on 2, Brewer stacks on 2, and then 6 games without either. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's a 1-for-1 kind of thing.
I'm with it. I think that makes a lot of sense, for sure. Let's get into some of the other bats, Paulie. So we got Coors on the slate. We know the Dodgers should be pretty popular with Sensatella on the bum, and Coors has been going off for the most part. Definitely a lot more than it did last year with his juice ball. But talk to me about some of the offenses you're interested in.
The Houston Astros, I'm very interested in. Tommy Maloney's like the second most home run prone pitcher on the slate according to home runs per 9. Lefty, Springer's back, Altuve's back, Chirinos, what's his name, the third baseman, Bregman's, heating up. They got to be implied for like 5.96 runs. Seattle's bullpen is terrible. I have a lot of interest in Houston, and I'm pretty sure outside of Springer, like the rest of them are actually fairly cheap. Yordan Alvarez left with an injury. I'd be shocked if he was in the lineup. He was the only other like really expensive bat at this point, so they also have that like value appeal. The Washington Nationals against the homer-prone lefty. Daniel Norris comes in as 5th most homer-prone. The Nationals mash lefties. This is like, Anthony Rendon, like you can almost just put down 14 points right now, and just that's his floor. Like he's definitely hitting 1 home run, maybe more. This is a good park for right-handed power. They've got a handful of those guys. Trey Turner. I think you mentioned Zimmerman is coming back. Both their catchers are like power hitting right-handed bats. Howie Kendrick may sneak into the lineup. That terrible bullpen from Detroit, like just a lot of boxes being checked there. They are definitely interesting to me. We don't need to talk about the Dodgers, right? Like that's just.
I mean, it's the obvious. What's there to say, really, right? Like a lot of people are going to try to get it. They're going to be popular, even on a massive slate. They're going to have a lot of ownership. People are going to try to get them in, and we discuss some of the cheap pitchers you're going to need if you want them. But yeah, the Dodgers, Sensatella, bad bullpen. They're a good offense. It's Coors. You guys know the rest. Continue with the other offenses, Paulie.
All right, like I'm like having this like internal debate of which ones I want to like. I'm only gonna talk about 3 more, and I'm like, who do I leave out? Who makes the cut? Is it like is this one like my sneaky juicy one that we just let the nation know like tomorrow? I don't know. So I'm like having that war, but I'll say Pittsburgh, right? We caught them today, like rapidly liking this team. Nobody ever rosters Pittsburgh, especially on a slate this big, and they're in that same good park that Milwaukee's in against Yul Chassin, who really struggles versus lefties, and they got all kinds of lefties that are like pretty hot right now. Excuse me, Josh Bell, Dickerson. What's his name is a switch hitter. The Reynolds kid is a switch hitter. Give me another lefty bat in that lineup that's hot. There's another one. They got lefties up and down. Like this could be a tough spot for Yul Chassin. What are they implied for?
4.8, I think.
4.8. Yeah, nice. Who else? The Toronto Blue Jays against Danny Duffy. They went off against Paxton. They have a lot of right-handed power. They're at home. They've been hot. They're implied for 5 runs. Danny Duffy, I got to look into that, see how they profiles. Maybe there's a case actually for him as well. But they're implied for 5 runs. They're like the 4th highest right now. I think we're missing a couple totals. But you can't deny that they've been hot. They're going to be very cheap, so that's going to make them even more enticing. Get behind some Blue Jays.
Of all the offenses there's a lot of ways we can go, but of all the ones, Paulie, like the Nationals stood out to me the most, man.
Yeah, them and the Astros, like
absolutely, I really and that's ultimately like. When narrowing things down, like that's been a big thing for us is like locating. Like we always talk about massive upside, right? Finding the worst pitcher with the worst bullpen behind him. You know what I'm saying? Yes. That is how you get massive upside, right?
Right.
So like they stand out. The Tigers bullpen's absolutely terrible. The Nationals are they're actually playing well right now, like on the sneaks. Like they got healthy quietly. They got Adams back and. They quietly got healthy. They've been playing well, and their prices have been way up to a point where people aren't playing them. And
they got Trey Turner back. He was out.
And Trey Turner's been mashing. He's been mashing. So that's probably my favorite right now. I think that the Brewers and Pirates both are very interesting. The good part about and here's the thing, like even with the Archer Moustakas, like. An even better point as to why you should. Moustakas of the Brewers Archer, like a better. And even to add to your point of like why you should do the 1-to-1 ratio is because there is a world where Archer pays off his price and the Brewers just still tee off as a stack, like maybe a little off him and the rest off the bullpen. And so I think that like that even justifies more because if Archer at 7-1 on DraftKings, if he gets you like a 14 or 15, like you're cool with that. You're looking for more, of course, but if that's what he got you, you're okay.
You can survive with that. Yeah.
And so I'm with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's one more I'll talk about. Right, I said 5. We don't have implied totals yet, but we pretty much know it's a bullpen game out of the White Sox against the Twins. They have not shown a ton of power yet. But we're looking at a pretty overcast, humid day in Chicago. 7-mile-per-hour winds blowing out. This could be a get-right spot for the Twins where the power finally busts out. Like, they've been doing, they've been, like, scoring runs the Babbitt way. And, they still, like, if you look on the season, I think they still lead the league in home runs as a team. Their ISOs are through the roof. Like, this could be a real, like, we're still here, guys. We still got all the power and, like, multiple home runs because the White Sox bullpen, it's not terrible, but it's also not very good.
It is a really nice hitting environment with 80 degrees, a lot of humidity. The only, and I think that the Twins, just how many innings did they go, the Rays and the Twins? Like
17.
So maybe they kinked out some of those, like, Babbitt, like, type of at-bat. You know what I mean? Like, they had, like, a bunch of those in the deck. It's like burning cards in the deck, you know what I mean, when there's extra inning games and like those are bats. So they just burnt enough to where now they're ready. Home runs are back time,
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think like what they did was a fluke. Like, I think this is a very talented lineup with all kinds of power. And, honestly, like, their lineup is going to dictate my interest because sometimes, they've been like playing around. They don't have a consistent lineup that like we just know, like they've been playing around with it and like, if we get a very good lineup, depending who we find out is going to pitch, who the umpire is, all that good stuff. But this could be I wouldn't be shocked if they are implied for like 5.5 to 6 runs when the line comes out.
Right.
And I don't think I have to really twist your arm to play the Twins.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. All right, it's going to do it for the slate breakdown portion of the show. At this point, I'm going to remind everybody, if you haven't checked us out at whitestake.com, make sure you get over there. Come join the nation. Come see what it is we do. See how we will make you a better DFS player. You can try out the content with a day pass, $2.50, all it costs. You'll get in for one full day. You'll get all the MLB DFS content for the day except for the Slack chat. Slack chat is only available to monthly members or higher. Part of the stuff you'll get with the day pass, as long as you get one Monday through Saturday, you will get access to the Y stream, which is a live stream we do 2 hours before lock at our site for our paid members. After our guys have done their research, the show obviously is just the first look. You'll get access to all the articles. We do a tournament article. We do a cash game article. We also have a cheat sheet from my boy Genius Cam. You get all that for $2.50. So come get down. Come win. I mean, the nation's been on fire. Everybody. Cam's been winning. Me and you've been fucking on a crazy tear. Like, everybody's winning.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, even yesterday, like, we knew had a miserable day. We had a subscriber win $2,500 on FanDuel. Like, you know, the content was still there. You know, we just went all in on the Brewers.
Yes. Yes. Real quick, though, guys, I do recommend, after you get the day pass, you sign up for a monthly membership or higher. Get into the Slack chat. You'll have access to all of our analysts and our members, the core members, and you'll be able to chop up the slate with them and the analysts. And it's a really good way to learn. You can ask questions and be a little more personable with, you know, the nation, more hands-on, learn all that good shit. All right, Paulie, cash game core time. SP1, SP2 for cash games. Who do you want to go with for now?
I mean, it's really difficult without, like, you know, knowing the pricing of a lot of the bats. Yeah. Like,
well, it's just a starting point, right? Like, because I'm gonna ask you.
Are you gonna put them into DraftKings?
No.
Like, so okay, all right. I was like, I mean, I think optimally, right? I want like DeGrom and Anibal Sanchez, but if I can't. Do you come off DeGrom first, or do you go from like Anibal to what's his name, the Cardinals pitcher or somebody? You know what I mean? Right. Like, you know, like it depends what the Dodgers cost and which Dodgers.
Well, I guess that's the first thing. Like, what Dodger would you want? Like, Bellinger is $6K. Are you like, nah, don't need you, or are you like, no, I'm finding a way to play? You know.
You know, it's really going to depend what else is out there. Like, we want him, right? But I don't think it's a must. 6K is a lot. I agree. Like, I think that almost, like, contradicts a little bit of cash. Like, you know, like, it's like his point per dollar output is almost, you know, unless he has a massive game. And, like, you know, I don't know how great of a game he actually did have a pretty good game today. But, you know, he could very easily have done like what Jock Peterson did today. And it's like,
get like a 10 from a 6K guy, and you're gonna be pissed.
Yeah. So, man, like.
So then maybe Muncy is the guy we want to prioritize.
The second base eligibility is nice. You know, I'll say that. You know, it's $400 cheaper. He hit 2 today. One of those two, you know, one of those two, I think will make the cut.
And then like the rest is going to depend on what value opens up. Like there may be some, like we might get some crazy hitter that's 2,600 and batting like 6 or higher or something like that. Like,
you know, the Cardinals had a $2,300 guy hitting leadoff today. That Edelman kid, you know, like the stuff like that opens up that. You know, then allows more. Yeah. You know, allows to load up more on bats.
Yeah, absolutely.
And usually on a large slates like this, there's more of those kind of opportunities.
Absolutely. Top 3 pitchers overall right now.
You know, I've actually come around on DeGrom. I think he's going to be low owned. And he's actually got some decent history against the Braves. And, like, they can strike out. It's a good park. Total in this game is 8. You know, like, the Braves being applied for 3.5 really said something to me. Like, I think the strikeouts will be there. I think he'll go 7 innings. And if, like, he gives up 2 or 3 runs, he still could be the highest scoring pitcher. So I'm going to use DeGrom. I'm going to use Anibal Sanchez, and I'm going to use Chris Archer.
I'm going to go very similar to DeGrom, Anibal, and I will go with Eliezer Hernandez. Top 3 stacks.
The Nationals, the Astros, and the Dodgers.
And I will go with the Nationals as well. I'll go with the Nationals, the Astros. I'll go with the Brewers for the 1-1 approach. Archer's your number 3. Yep. This is the 1-1 right here, baby.
It's the 1-1.
So we'll go Brewers, and I'll go with you on the Dodgers. But I think the Astros are certainly in an awesome spot. See, that's really all I want is to attack I want a good offense against a bad pitcher and a bad bullpen.
That's all I want. And
it's not asking for too much, you know.
The bullpen is almost more important for me. Like,
you saw the Phillies today, right? Like.
Every day, there was the time where the Nationals just every time, they've improved a little bit. Right now, it's the Mets and the Phillies and the Astros actually surprisingly just getting crushed, allowing home runs, and that's more important to me. I don't even mind if I'm attacking a pitcher that you wouldn't normally, but if I got upside coming behind, that's really where you win tournaments. Is the guy gets a hit against that good pitcher, and then gets 2 home runs in the 6th and 8th inning off the terrible bullpen and puts up a crazy score.
You get Tyler White pitching.
Pitchers come in, exactly. That's the dream.
The dream. Tyler White.
That's what we're all here for.
No doubt. Dong Watch, who's going deep?
I will go with Anthony Rendon.
I like that a lot. I will go with Alex Bregman.
All right. I'll take Whit Merrifield.
I'll take Christian Yelich.
Christian. And I will take George Springer.
George Springer. Ram Springer. Let's go with... Let's go with... I'm going to go with a national, but I don't even know if he's going to play.
Ryan Dozier?
I was going to say Dozier, but he might not even play. It's not guaranteed that he'll play. You know what I mean? Well, they get the DH. He probably will play.
Probably going to play.
He's probably going to. I'll go with Dozier. Let's go Dozier.
I like that.
3,400. Was that 3? Yeah, that's 3. So that's going to do it for the Y6 DFS podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up, that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Facebook, give us a like and a share to support the Y6 Nation. If you're watching on Twitch or Twitter, give us a follow, give us a retweet. And if you're listening to us on Podbean or iTunes, give us some 5-star reviews. Paulie D, anything in closing before we get up out of here?
No, just going to keep doing what we're doing, sticking to the process. It's been working. Working for quite a while now. This is a really fun hot streak, and check it out tomorrow. The big slates have actually become the good ones, so let's do it.
Dropping sevens on them. Stevie Brown, you will drop a 7 again. You will drop a 7
again. Oh yes,
you
will. Oh yes, you will,
Stevie. Yes, you will. You better be practicing in the mirror like I said everybody else does. You better be doing this, Stevie, because you will be saying that for show. For Paulie D. For myself, the entire Y6 Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.